Hi, kids. Welcome to Love, Truth, and Beauty, episode 287. And this is our sixth installment of my video series, Conversations with Men. And I have with me today my wonderful Facebook friend, Simon Newton, who is currently in the southern US of A. Hi, Simon. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you.
Yeah. So thanks for being on this interview with me. I've always been very curious about you because you always have wonderful responses to my rants about how badly men are treated, and it usually comes on the heels of some uber liberal fake feminists coming after me for being a patriarchy apologist. So I'm always happy to see your responses, because your responses, for me, I feel it, and I'm not a man, but I feel it deeply because I see the truth in the distortion that has been sort of just pounded and expounded upon by pop, or rather poop culture, where there is this sort of hatred of men, white men in particular, that I find particularly offensive. So I want to get your take on this, because I think it is an important topic, because there's not that many men who are actually willing to, with critical thinking and with a heartfelt response about the I think it is I think it's a travesty. I think it's horrifying what some of these women just, they just continue on and they go crazy, and it's not even, you can't even talk to them because they're so out of their minds with this ranting and raving that none of it makes sense.
Well, there's a lot of factors involved in this. For me, the two main factors, I guess, coming at it from an individual,
Yes.
a single man, a single white English foreigner in a very liberal town, Asheville, it's an absolute nightmare. And then we take it from the cosmic, high dimensional, we're all expressions of pure consciousness here to learn and grow. And I can see the necessity of it at a long species, humanity, developmental scale. I think we're going to use a lot of woo-woo terms for simplicity here.
Okay.
Let's say the indigo children. We know what we mean. That era, that wave,
Yes.
whether or not they're real or not, we know what we're talking about when we use that phrase.
Yes.
I see how they came in unwilling to be told what to do, unable to listen,
Yes.
to fit in with the way things are. And they've come together and agreed things need to be a new way. And they've forced that into modern reality, and it now exists.
Yes.
And it was pretty effective. We now have an acceptance of all of the genders, all of the explorations for sexuality. That needed to happen to some extent. I'm seeing a lot of positive in the long term. At the moment, we're at the rough end of having something shoved down our throats we didn't want as
Yes.
individuals. As a collective, I think it will settle down and be beneficial in the long run. So there's always these two factors,
Yeah.
and I'm a human being, so I could quite happily lose my temper and be ranting about one thing 1 minute and then remember and be embarrassed about it the next minute. But
Yes.
we're humans. We shouldn't apologize for everything we do that's wrong, because who's to say what's right or wrong?
Yes.
I think as well, we have to look at the value of this space has allowed people to acknowledge they have trauma, to speak about it, to develop a language about it, to feel they have the right to and
Yes.
the ability to put boundaries in place that make life more manageable for them as they navigate their trauma. There is a lot of good, but the problem is empowerment. My idea as a cis white Gen X, blah blah, probably doesn't matter what my opinion is, but where was I going with that?
Well, you were relating to how all of that has influenced the sort of uprising and the expression of these indigo children, now adults, and their reactivity to white men.
Empowerment, that was it.
Yes.
As people are getting in tune with their trauma, it's given them a lot of power because it's personally empowered them to say, there's a reason why I'm like this. I know what it is now.
Yeah.
I'm not messed up. I'm a result of a situation. That is empowering. For me, empowerment means you've moved beyond that.
Yes.
You've accepted it. You've
Without
internalized the trauma.
weaponizing.
Right. The problem we're seeing now is that people are saying, this happened to me, therefore you have to accept me the way I am. They're empowering their traumatized state as far as I can see it.
Yes.
And they think that means they don't have to change, they don't have to grow. And if they don't want to, they don't have to. I mean, no one's telling anyone what they have to do.
Yes.
Except these uber liberal people. They're telling everyone what they have to do.
Funny how that happens.
Yeah, isn't it just again and again?
It's disturbing to me. Really disturbing to me.
But again, it's the thin end of the wedge. It's given them the confidence. They haven't worked out how to use the confidence and the voice they've found. That's coming with time. What I'm really happy to see is a lot of the more mature women who are having a backlash now and saying, all right, it's been a couple of years. We've heard a lot of this. We've had enough. We need to settle down. There's been a massive wave. Now let's have a little peak, a little trough. Let's settle. And before the next wave, let's time to have a breath. Let's have a pause and see where we are.
So what are you witnessing in terms of that?
What I'm witnessing from my level is first date, okay. We agree, let's be friends. Okay, second date, we hang out as friends. It's all cool. Everything's going well. And then somewhere after the second date, either texting, phone calling, talking, I make a joke. And the joke isn't taken well because it triggers that person's trauma. And the dynamic very quickly drops downwards to, I'm supposed to belittle myself and apologize profusely. And that person now has the right to criticize me, judge me, tell me what I did was wrong, without having any understanding of my own history, my own similar childhood trauma to theirs. And in quite a few of these cases, I've used humor as a way to deal with my own trauma. And they didn't know about my trauma. So they thought they could belittle me, criticize me, and try and attack me to the point where I felt so wrong, I had to shrink down and make them feel important.
Yes.
And I remember the days where you had to be 6 months of great sex, the honeymoon period, then it wears off. Then you've got 3 months of building resentment. You're not sure if you're going to be with this person or not. And then commonly people don't leave a relationship. They annoy the other person until they are angry.
Yes.
And the moment that person says a word in anger, they say, how dare you speak to me like that? I'm not putting up with this. I'm leaving.
Yes.
So that's the stage it normally takes 9 months to arrive before you feel comfortable enough with someone to judge them, belittle them, poke holes in their character, and try and assassinate their character as a one-upmanship.
Yes.
Now it's happening on the second or the third date with people I don't even know yet.
I'm noticing that. I am noticing that. Oh, and it's going on in text. You haven't even met the person yet. I mean, I hear about this from my clients and students who are endeavoring to get back into the relationship universe and endeavor to even just getting to know someone. And there's this immediate onslaught of attack and defensiveness. And we live in such a disposable society where, yeah, it's like, you know what, F you, like right then and there, without any real context about where people are coming from, because we all have our sensitivities. And as a man, I know that I hear from women, well, you know, these men, they had it coming to them. I mean, they just will make this blanket statement, and I'm just like, I don't get it. As a woman, I am upset by that. It hurts me to hear that from women. It hurts me to hear that from men, as their sort of blanket opinion. I don't even know where they come to that, because they're in their own traumas, but apparently not so much working on it, but just getting on the hate train against men. That's what I notice. And it's like I bang my head up against a wall sometimes, because I find it just really, are we really going backwards? It just doesn't seem like it's conducive to any kind of up leveling in consciousness. It seems like we're de-evolving into this more polarized state where, as you were talking about, the weaponized woundology and feeling entitled when you come from that place to have to demand apology, or to have a carte blanche to just spew your bullshit onto someone because you feel like it. It's shocking to me.
And then again, at the other end of the extreme, before all of this kicked off, I know so many women, and they tell me the stories of how their male partners treated them. And it's horrific.
Yeah.
And when I speak to enough women and they tell me enough stories about how enough of their male partners were just out and out abusive, coming from their perspective, I've got to say, I don't blame them.
Yeah.
I get it. I
Yeah.
fully get that they've had it in the same way that it's since moving to Asheville. Now, I spent 5 years in Jacksonville, Florida, and I kept hearing the libs are ruining this country. And I thought, how can liberalism ruin anything? How can being open-minded and kind to people
Yes.
and listening to them ever be a problem? And then I came to Asheville. I went,
Yeah.
I see now.
Right. Because liberalism had liberalism has been hijacked, and it just seems like it's a mental disorder to me now.
Well, I will say, I do think the New Age movement has been infiltrated and made extreme and weaponized on purpose. I think what we're seeing was created from the inside. I think there's some kind of social control thing happening here.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of hurt people flocked to a new mind space in their culture that welcomed them.
It's a
And
satanic
made them feel hurt.
inversion. It's a
And once they're in
satanic
it,
inversion.
right, once they're in that space, the comforting, gently, bit by bit, step by step, leads them like the lobster, the crab in the cooking pot that doesn't notice it.
Yes.
And before they know what's going on, they're just trying to be there for their peers. They're trying to do the right thing by what is open-minded and liberal. And if you spent 20 years following a liberal movement and it's always done you well, you don't notice that it's suddenly been hijacked and gone askew.
Yeah.
One thing I will say, I think the way the left got made fascistic was genius. I think it was Trump. See, what he did, he spent years standing for everything anti-liberal. He attacked the environment, he attacked genders, he attacked birthrights, women's rights, he attacked everything that open-hearted people hold dear to. And then he stood against, he wouldn't mask, he wouldn't take COVID seriously. And looking back, we might say, well done, Trump. But I'm not really going to say that about anything he's done, to be honest. But at that point, everybody liberal was so used to hating Trump and everything he stood for that we said, oh, he's not taking this worldwide pandemic seriously. That's just typical of him. So taking the pandemic seriously became an act of opposing Trump. And I think that was done on purpose to spin the whole liberal left-wing movement
Yes.
into being pro-masking, pro-vaccine.
Yeah.
And then I've seen some of the most liberal, open-minded people in this town, people that are minor celebrities, healers, therapists, literally saying frighteningly right-wing things about people should be dragged out in the streets and vaccinated against their will, about people that don't get the vaccine probably deserve to die of COVID.
Unbelievable.
These are some of the supposedly most open-hearted, compassionate healers in
Right.
this town.
Right.
And because they're following the left-wing agenda, they don't quite, it boggles my mind how they're not questioning, how they don't think the
Right.
words come out their mouth and say, this doesn't feel right.
Right.
That brings me on to the point that came up in conversation with us the other day. We were talking about how the traumatized child gets pushed into the freeze response. You've got flight or fight. The child can't fight the parent. It can't run away. It lives there. So
Right.
it goes into freeze, dissociation. It
Yeah.
locks down, fawn, people pleasing.
Yeah.
I think somehow our younger generations have been culturally conditioned to exist entirely in that dissociated, traumatized state.
Yes.
I see it now in a lot of them. They're very warm, they're very polite, they're very kind and considerate, they're very gentle. You have to lead with your wounds and show you're wounded to show you're not a threat, to make them feel
Right.
safe. And everything looks amazing on the surface, but I haven't been able to get in, and I didn't know why. And I've realized, you look in the eyes, they're a million miles away.
Yeah. It's
They're absolutely
because.
dissociated, and they're
Yes.
projecting all of these things out to the world,
Yes.
and they're kind of living in the projection.
Yeah. Well, and that is the sort of scripted modality of pop culture, of being in the matrix as that, as who they think they are based on their projections of themselves. And then, of course, you have people that are like distracted by this thing, which causes more dissociation because you don't even have to have a conversation. I mean, it's frightening. I was with a bunch of friends who have kids, and everybody is at the table. I'm with them, and they're all communicating on their phones. Nobody is talking to one another. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? This is craziness. And that's normal. That is a normal way of being, to be dissociative, to be in that sort of IT tech mode and act as if you're a bot, basically, because you don't have to take responsibility when you communicate via text. There's no emotion, there's no tonality, there's no, unless you're using all capitals, and oh my god, there's the trigger, I'm being screamed at, and
No caps, for real.
yeah, all caps with exclamation points that go for days and days. I mean, it's fascinating to me.
I just realized something.
Yes.
We, in the moment, are an interaction between what we bring and the environment with which we are interacting.
Yes.
Me with you is not Simon and Maria, it's Simon with Maria. And when I'm with someone else, I'm Simon with that person.
Yes.
When I'm in a very meditative, spiritual environment, a kirtan or something, I'm not the same as when I'm down the bar on a Friday night with my loud bearded drinking buddies having a loud rah. Completely different people.
Yes.
So we enter the digital space.
Yes.
We are lucky now. We can choose between a smile, a cry, a heart, a hug, shock, or tear. We have such range now, such a range.
Hugs.
And you think about it, it doesn't matter how much thought or love you put into that emoji. It's just, it's a 1 or a 0.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in that world, we adapt to our environment. We become an effective machine for responding. I'm going to give that a response or I'm not. I'm going to give it one of these choices or not.
Yeah.
Not only is our relationships, are our relationships online limited to the digital world? But the longer we live in it, the more we become semi-cyborg. We adapt to the digital world
Yes.
and we become something that's not a natural mammalian being in
Yes.
the natural
I
world,
I
that's part of the
I
symphony of
wholeheartedly
Earth.
agree.
And I think this as well is part of this thing, this, what do you call it? Transhumanism.
Transhumanism,
It's the
exactly.
mental aspect of transhumanism.
Yeah, yeah, it really, really is. And then at the same time, we are each creating our layer of the universe, and our layers of the universe are intersecting at this point in time based on our interaction and based on the interface of this Zoom AI that allows this. And so, it's like it's good. And at the same time, it's a little disturbing when you think about the ramifications down the line. And for me, I have been conducting Zoom calls and teaching on Zoom since Zoom started in 2011. So this is now what, it's 11 years since its inception. And now everybody's doing it because of Seven Oinson and what happened with that, where people were basically unable, incapacitated, and not allowed to leave their homes. Um, and I mean, I left my home. I did my thing anyway. But that's me, not as an act of rebellion. It's just I have to get the fuck out of the house. I have to be outside, and I have to have nature. I have to interact with nature on a daily basis. And I think for a lot of people, I don't think it even occurs to them that artificialness of the way a lot of us live, especially, immersed with Siri and Alexa and all these AI personalities and I've done videos on it where I've actually heard people interacting with Siri and Alexa bitching them out, and men screaming at them, "Fuck you, Alexa!"
Isn't that one of their best uses?
Apparently.
Absolute full permission to fully let rip to the point of catharsis on
Yes.
something that can respond to you with
Yes.
the wrong answers, deserve your ire,
Yeah.
and there's no consequence.
Yeah. No
That might be
consequence
that actually,
whatsoever.
if you're
And they'll
taking yourself
answer, "I'm
seriously,
sorry, I
there's
don't
an
know
issue.
that one." I mean, the answers are they just blow me away. And the just sorted responses, or the sorted expletives at the Alexa and at the Siri, I'm just like, wow. I find it comical, and I find it a little frightening at the same time.
That's another thing it brings up for me.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm in my deepest meditative states and I turn my attention towards the earthly drama, because it always is a drama, hopefully a dance, working on it. What it is all about to me in that point is every annoyance. Let's just say there's something to annoy every single thing that could be annoyed at any point. So the bits of me that are getting annoyed at that moment, I've moved from that person annoyed me because they are blah, 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 blah. They are those things, they did those things, and those things they shouldn't have done. But my response to that is what I need to look at. Why am I letting that person get to me?
Yes. Yes.
I was in session once and I moved from the torso to the head. And as I put my hands on the person's head, a rare occurrence, but it happened, I was one with the awareness of the being who constructed this universe. I'm going to call this a metaphor for understanding, because I don't want to claim that that was real, because it might not have been. He said to me, "It's meant to hurt this much. I did that on purpose." I love all of my people so dearly. It hurt me to see them taking so long to learn their lessons
Mm,
and find their way back to love and light,
wow.
trust, and open heartedness. So I constructed this universe to make the consequences of your actions, your thoughts, your words quick and painful and enduring. So you have to learn quickly, and that way the souls move through the drama and come back to a point of awakening quicker than if they're left to just wander around without these harsh
Wow.
lessons in place.
Yeah.
Another thing I see is we would all love to be in the astral realm because not having to deal with the physical body would be so much easier. But the physical body has much harder consequences that force us to
Absolutely.
pay attention and learn.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
neglect eating for 2 or 3 days, you know about it unless you're
Yeah.
fasting. You don't fast by accident, it's a conscious choice that takes preparation. The consequences being so sharp, so hard, and so enduring are what force us to have to get our shit together and learn.
Yeah.
Now, that sounds wonderful in isolation. It sounds awful when you're going through it and someone says, well, here's what's really happening. Try and look on the positive side and learn to see it in this experience. I would punch someone if they said that to me when I'm
I
about
wanted to punch people. I wanted to punch
to.
myself when I sit there and
Yeah.
I bully my sensitivities with this toxic positivity. It pisses me off. It's like, no. And so, giving myself the permission to actually be in a shitstorm
Hmm.
and be absolutely fucking miserable so I don't recreate it again, and getting the full on nuances of it. And when stuff like that happens for me, my body is what takes the hit. It's
Mm.
not good because i I'm very good with the flow of life force energy and creative energy moving through my tissues up and down. And I wish you were closer because I'm telling you, I need expertise, body work, all the things that the Cranio-Sacral. My people that were my go-tos in California, they're all gone.
Mhm. They're all
Everybody.
here. I probably know half of them.
And it's just like, oh man, and there's nobody here where I am that I trust to be on that conscious level where they're able to hold that space.
I think a lot of them are moving here. I'm meeting them, and it's good news. Um, I've got about 3 or 4 friends that have been here in the past 6 months from California, and they're quickly becoming dear friends. And it's fascinating to see the fresh from California vibe juxtaposed with the I've been on the East Coast for quite some time vibe. Um, on one level, it's a little polished. It's a little nice. It looks a little naive. And on the other hand, they're getting shit done. The one thing I'm hearing is people are coming from California and they're saying, yeah, there's a lot of flakiness in Asheville. A lot of people say they'll turn up and don't. And it's nice to hear because I thought I was just expecting too much from people and being a judgmental prick. But a lot of these people from California are coming and they want to get shit done and they're not
Yeah.
finding the people that can be there and help them with it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'd hope an influx would help
Yeah.
lift that.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, people come to Asheville for what it is to work through where they're at. And we need to give them that space.
Yeah.
It's easy to say everyone should be where I am. And I've said that so many times throughout my life when I looked back and said, oh, I was so naive. Thank God I'm smart and wise and awake now. 5 years later, oh God, am I still doing it? So now I just assume I'm a clueless child who knows nothing. And yeah, it works.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's that reset because the awakening is not a one-off event. It is constant hitting the reset button, realizing, fuck, I did it again. I'm sound asleep. I am completely hijacked in all of my attention elsewhere, and I'm not paying attention. I'm not minding this place here, this being, this woman, all of her stuff. And you know, why is that? Because there's so many distractions. There's so many distractions that are like pulling on us. And you know, it's
It's
almost like that
spiritual
shiny
resistance
object
training.
syndrome.
I think it's spiritual resistance training. The
Mm-hmm.
more we wake up as a species, the more we get dumped on us, the harder we have to work, and the
Yeah.
quicker we grow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and I know that for myself, I mean, just the nature of my work is such that um, it's hard to hear. It's hard to hear how awful humanity can be to one another. Every time I think I've heard every awful story or a version thereof of some various trajectory of a story, I hear something that just completely is, wow, okay, I really could have lived the rest of my life and not have heard anything about that, because then it just sort of deepens my concern of where we are as a species. And you know, how is it gonna play out? How is it gonna play out? You know, and the best thing that I can do is just monitor my own self-talk and my own self-awareness and put out the best version that I can be at any given moment. And by doing that, projecting that onto everybody that I have an interaction with, you know, even the shithead that wants to sit there and get in my face about something really, really, really despicable and evil. And, you know, and that requires for me, like, just this deep commitment to not lowering my frequency to meet them where they're at. That
It took me a
is
long time
bit.
to learn that.
Yes.
I don't have to do that. I like the metaphor. You ever seen one of those waterfalls? There's just loads of tiny little waterfalls all the way up the cliff face.
Yes.
So I see myself as one of those waterfalls. I am fed by the waterfall just above me, and I pour my overflow feeds the waterfalls just beneath me. I can see all of these waterfalls down below that desperately need help, but I'm not going to try and pass over the one below me to feed all the ones beyond that. That's not the order of things.
Yeah.
So we help those that come to us because they see we can help them. We take help from those we know can help us, and we turn away those that try and push help on us we don't want.
Yeah.
And we don't try and force our help on those that can't have it. Maybe we don't give help to those that we don't have time and energy for.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the excess, it's the overflow that we have to share that we share. Otherwise, we deplete, and then we're useless.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's taken a while to learn that it is okay to have boundaries. It is okay to hit reset. It is okay to feel your exhaustion in its complete utterness. Rather than bullying your exhaustion and doing the whole thing, I'm just gonna rally. No, I'm actually not. I'm turning everything off and I'm going to bed.
I think I just realized what's happening with screaming bluehead people. And you've lived in dissociation forever. You've got to come through flight or fight to come into rest and restore parasympathetic nervous response. Maybe we're just watching entire generations of people that have spent half a lifetime locked up in trauma. Maybe this is just them coming out as a generation, and they're just turning the planet into their therapy session.
Yes, I can see that. I can see the validity of that. Absolutely.
When you look at it at something that large scale or that collective with that much momentum, no individual can stop that.
Yeah.
I think we just have to wait for it to wear itself out and be done. And then when they're finished, maybe they'll come for a hug. Who
Yeah.
knows?
And that energy, that energy that has been so suppressed, repressed, it's probably generational
Mhm.
from their own lineages and their own
Oh, yeah.
parentage and all that kind of stuff. It has to vent. It has to vent
Mhm.
somehow. And you know, why not? Why not vent it on Donald Trump? Why not? Why not vent it on? But you know, at the same time, I mean, I'm saying that, and I'm coming back to, you know, our original point, our subject of all of this hate being projected upon men, especially white men. Um, so it's a bit of a conundrum, and at the same time, isn't life exactly that, a conundrum?
Oh, yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, I think awakening, enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, it's a bit like working out past the age of 40. You can work out for a good few weeks, and suddenly that climb on the mountain bike up to the mountain is now fun. It's not a living hell. You've got good shape, good tone, good energy. You're reasonably fit now. You take a week or two off, you're right back to square one. Fitness is now, past your 40s, something you just do every day or it's completely gone.
yeah,
I think awakening's the same. It is being, on the one hand, absolutely surrendered. The vast, wide open space in which the moment is occurring. But at the same time, we can't be a leaf on the wind. We have to
right.
have absolute, perfect, scalpel like, precise discernment. We have to decide what we want and what we don't.
Yeah,
We have to hold exactly true to that.
yeah,
The more we embody our goals, the more life can form around them.
absolutely.
Um,
I mean, that's what life is. You know,
but
you have
it's,
that creative inspiration and
mhm,
that life force. That inspiration is what is summoning that life force to animate through every cell of your body,
mhm,
and evoking that heart, mind, body, soul coordination, where you align your what it is that you feel, your emotions, your thoughts, your thought quality, your beliefs, your actions, your inactions, the stuff you absolutely do not do, to match up with what it is that you're intending to create. And that's how it materializes and manifests. You can't have one foot in another reality that says, I'm a piece of shit. I
mhm.
can't do this. And then aspire to these up leveled lifelines. It doesn't work. And that's why, people will say, well, it doesn't work. Well, of course it doesn't work, because your inner self talk is not matching up to what it is that you say you are inspired to do and bring forth.
Well, that's the problem with the whole powers of co-creation, manifesting with thought, the secret, what the bleep do we know, is we're taught that thought is enough. But really, we have to vibrate with that frequency to draw
Yes,
it in magnetically. We're also
absolutely.
taught in the West to use it to draw in our ego-based desires, our personal wants, which are only going to further ensnare us in more bullshit and drama. So
Mm-hmm.
ideally, when you do co-create reality with the power of the infinite, we should tune into the infinite and let it speak through us when it thinks is right. But that was an aside. What was the point before that?
Well, the point before that is that we were trying to get to the sort of crux of awakening.
That was it. So many years ago in Glastonbury, in the days where you had to go to the local library to use the internet and check your emails, I helped a lady with her email. We got talking. We ended up back at my place an hour later having a cup of tea, and she had a full-size crystal skull on her.
Whoa.
So she sat it on the table, and after half an hour, she said, "Okay, I can remove his eye shade. He's ready now to speak to you." And I was skeptical. So I picked it up And I was like, okay, if you've got anything to teach me, if you're a being, show me something. What do you got? I said, what is my life purpose? Show me that. And he showed me an image of a thunderstorm. Imagine the darkest, tallest thundercloud you've ever seen, not in real life, online. The stuff that you're not sure is actually real or if it's CGI. Imagine the whole planet covered in that. The thunder, the lightning,
Wow.
so much power, it could rip off the face of the earth in a breath. And it said, you must develop this much power. And then it showed me a single drop of the morning dew just hanging on the very tip of a blade of grass, just at the point before it drops off. That tender moment where any second it's going to, and it's gone. And it said, and you must deliver your power with this much tenderness. And that was it. That was the end of the thing.
Whoa.
And it's lasted, because if you've got that much power, if you deliver it that much tenderness, it's always going to be beautiful and full of love, because you cannot be that tender whilst you're angry.
Yeah, no, you
So
can't.
I see the awakening path, as well as working out and many things. We don't get to a stage and now we're like that. Now I'm fit. Now I'm enlightened. I think it's a choice every second of every moment.
Yes.
The balance, the power, and the tenderness, with a
Yeah.
different amount of each depending on what we're meeting at the time. The awakening is the development of the strength and the ability to focus that diligently in the moment, whilst being utterly calm, centered, grounded, whilst we have literally the two forces, the two extremes, one
Yeah.
in each hand. We've mastered them.
Yeah.
And that, as a metaphor, that stands for all things, I think.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I totally relate to that. You know, a lot of the people that I work with, it's not just about the trauma deactivation. It's about them really learning how to not just love themselves, but have how to direct their attention moment to moment to moment and catch themselves when they feel their energy and their attention being hijacked by something in the outer screen or something in here, or some past trauma where you lose consciousness and you lose the sort of here right now power nexus point, where, because it's only right now where you can actually launch a creative intention to create the next moment. And a lot of people don't even understand the mechanisms of that. And it really is, in my opinion, much more simple than all this complicated stuff about, making lists and shit like that. I understand that is background homework to hone in your focus attention to actually connect with what it is that you're envisioning for yourself or for humanity or whatever it is, and to be able to like move that energy through you to allow it to happen. But if we're like got shiny objects syndrome where you're just flitting around, and I see people walking around doing exactly that, and I have such empathy for them, because I know what that's like to have all these things coming at you and not being able to filter, or not being able to just ground yourself in such a way that you can just observe these inputs without getting carried away or getting hijacked by them to the point where you're just spinning out.
And this is a problem with each successive generation has grown up more in the matrix in the digital world, more detached from the natural world,
Yeah.
more detached from the ability to hear the call of their own body, I think. But like most things, I mean, the way I work is very simple. Everything is a half-formed sneeze or a cry, an emotional outburst. And I find half-finished stories in the body, trapped in the tissue,
Mm.
and I help it. I bring my capacity for experience and I attach it to the client. I also hold space for safety, for comfort. Um, so the wounded aspect of the client in that moment not only feels cared for, held, acknowledged, and safe, but it has twice the experiential space to let go and let stuff out.
Mm.
And I don't soothe it, I kind of tickle it, make it worse. But I don't shout at it, make it worse. I don't traumatize it further. I just coax it out until it's full blown. And then, like a sneeze, it gets loud enough and it's, oh, oh, the wonderful release after a sneeze.
Wow.
You ever had half a sneeze and it didn't complete? And you're left like, come on, get it out. So, this is what I do with people's trauma and emotions. No words, very few words, no imagery. It's all breath, movement, feeling. So that was relevant to what I was talking about, and I've forgotten now.
Wow. Well, so let me
What was I
ask you
talking about
this.
before? What was my point? That was a tangent for something.
Well, I'm just going to go off on that tangent with you
Okay.
because I'm curious, are you able to do your work remotely?
I can do it. I can. I've tried it a few times. I can do my cat across the room. Um, but I have shunned remote work, digital. This is my first ever Zoom meeting, ever. Because I didn't want to normalize living on a screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was one of the people that said, if you want to talk to me and respect COVID, we'll take a walk in the woods. And we can be together like humans, and we can read each other's body language, and we can laugh and we can joke, and we don't limit it to squinting in a screen because I don't like looking at a screen. And if I want to share with someone, I'd rather share with their presence, not their image on a
Yes.
screen.
Yes.
I tell you what, when socialization now means 2 hours walking in the woods and not hanging out in a bar drinking, if you've got to be sober alone in the woods with someone, you soon realize who your friends are.
It's
I
very
was
true.
hanging out with a lot less people when COVID hit. So if I've got to be sober with you in the woods alone, I don't want to hang out with that person for 2 hours. I can handle them drunk in a bar, but so that cleaned up my
Yeah.
friends list a hell of a lot.
Well, and that's my problem with socializing is that the social scene seems to revolve around alcohol and drugs and partying. I have no interest in that. It doesn't do it for me. And every time I say, well, okay, I'm going to open up and get to know this person, and then you see the habits that they have, and they're gone, 15 minutes at a bar with these people and they're fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
There's no point. There's no, and I'm not going to lower my frequency to meet you. I'm not doing it. So I usually end up leaving pretty disappointed. So
I
now
think
I
there's
just don't
a.
bother.
I hear you, and I think there's a middle ground. I don't like to get drunk, but for someone with complex PTSD, every waking second is some varying degree of a panic attack. And when you're working, you're doing chores, you know, you work it out, you live with that. But when the evening comes, you want to see your friends, you want to have some fun. I will, I'll take a drink, and if that can help me switch out of flight or fight and actually enjoy being in the moment, and I
Mm-hmm,
can laugh and joke instead
mm-hmm.
of because when I'm very functional and very efficient, very practical, and there's no fun. So I don't want to be that person having fun on a night out. So I see a value to a couple of drinks.
Mm-hmm.
What I've liked since COVID was opening up my house. I cook a bunch of grilled vegetables, make a salad, make a jug of margarita, put the tunes on. People bring their own protein. The grill, the wood pellet grill is outside. So
Sweet.
it's an open barbecue. People are coming and going. No one's drinking to get drunk. The bar hasn't set the tone. We don't listen to their music. We don't put up with their crappy food and their shitty servers. And it's really been nice. It's halfway between the outdoor, out there social scene. It's not quite a dinner party. It's not as refined or as cultured or as painful as a
Yeah.
dinner party. Yeah, this is the other thing I was going to say earlier. That was it. We're entering a new territory. We're being forced by the system, being forced to develop local community, educate ourselves about our health and how to take care of it. Many of us being forced to grow our own food. I can see a lot of us starting large-scale communes, small, conscious, shared villages on large-scale pieces of land that somebody owns. It's almost as if the way things are falling apart is forcing us to create a
Yes.
better society from the ground up at the very grassroots level.
Yes.
And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that is a beautiful thing.
Not intentional. It's just a happy accident that I'm all about.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think it's going to get pretty bad before a lot of people are prepared to step away from what they've always known.
What are you foreseeing?
I think it's still wide open. I think the co-creative power of the individual to use their own divine conscious energy to create their own reality is being hijacked at the collective level. I think the constant fear, stress, drama, weaponized media, social media stuff, I think someone very intelligent, in an occultist kind of way, I know this is getting out towards the Q crazy woo thing. I'm not that. The moment Q came up, I watched a lot of good conspiracy-minded people rush to the far end of the extreme, all get together under the Q umbrella and then embarrass themselves. It was tragic. Anyway, I think they want to use our collective harmonized media-led fear to create the very dystopia that we're hoping doesn't
Here,
happen.
here, here, here.
And I think
Well
as we
said.
come together as individuals and we share our individual visions for the future and we harmonize and homogenize those visions and we begin sharing collective visions and working to them at the grassroots level, I see different groups setting up different things. Some of us are going to be focused on the land and the food. Some of us are going to be focused on the healing and the medicines. Some of us are going to be focused on the, I got one friend, shout out to Daniel James. He deals with trusts, helps you how to set up a trust. Look into trusts. They're awesome. Anyway, he's all about helping people set up legal entities that protect them and protect their wealth and their businesses. And while loads of us are trying to get back to the land and the healing and dealing with each other's trauma, we are going to need the business brains.
Yeah.
We're going to need the engineers. Even if we make everything out of wood from trees we felled because the system fell apart, some high-level engineers, so different groups are going to be focusing on different things. I think it's too easy to look at the media, and the media wants to tell us this is what's happening.
Yeah.
No, everything is happening.
Everything is happening.
Which sphere we want to be part of and lend our weight to. Where this goes is changing second by second. The more people wake up, the more people decide to take back their power, the more people decide to think for themselves, the trajectory of the collective, it's always changing and evolving.
Yeah.
And the more conversations we have like this, the more people get on board and start listening, every day it heads closer and closer to a better outcome and further away from the dystopia. I think Eckhart Tolle said it in New Earth. Fish didn't crawl out the ocean because they were curious or bored. They crawled out the ocean because the water was drying up or the food was running out. That necessitated evolution.
Yes.
Two realities that don't fit together meet. It creates friction and discomfort. That necessitates a dialogue, a change. So these two realities can now fit together. There is no evolution or growth without discomfort. Necessity is the mother of invention. How shitty things have gotten right now. They've only gotten this bad because we weren't listening and we refused to change or wake up. This is all forcing us to have to step outside our comfort zone and grow and change.
Yes.
And the thing, I think the key thing to remember is, while we're all freaking out and blaming each other, we actually have to come together. This is brand new. The planet, I don't think, has seen this before. Our civilization has certainly never seen this. We're not that aware of past civilizations to compare notes. Ultimately, we all have to remember, whichever side of the fence we're on. We'll speak of fences in a second. Our job is to work this out together. We have to reconcile, because we are building our shared reality together, whether we like it or not. We can't do it without each other.
Yeah.
The other thing
Very
is,
true.
most of the people we're hearing are the black and white polar opposites. They're the ones with the views that are newsworthy, the ones that say, oh my God, what was that? 98% of us are some shade of grey in the middle, probably agreeing over most of it. We just don't get a voice because we're not the extreme ones that the media likes to put out there, because they need a story. And we forget that.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the blue-haired liberals that are destroying this country. And the ones I meet in person are mostly adorable, lovely people. And they're really, so they've got some funny views. I've got some funnier views. It's only when we take it all from the media, it looks so bad. But if we
Yes.
switch it off for
Well,
a
and
week.
they spin it
Oh,
to
yeah.
pit ourselves against each other, and it's
Yep.
not even true. It
Yep.
actually didn't even happen.
Mm-hmm. Divide and conquer has been a well-known catchphrase since Rome. Even then, it was used widely. So, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. I love everything that you have shared,
Thank you.
because that really is the that's the broad spectrum, wide spectrum vision that we need to hold in cooperation with one another. And it doesn't mean that we agree with everything. It means that we collaborate with each of our gifts. Like you said, the engineers, the healers, we're going to need everybody, the people who can work the land, the people who are, big picture people, people who have the legal know-how to create these structures. It's this co-creative energy flow. And yeah, and that's gonna like really the powers that want to be just have no idea what's coming, because they think they've won.
I don't know. I think they are desperately scrambling to save the last of it. Who knows? If it's all in harmony, if it's all in divine harmony anyway, they'll keep upping the pressure at just the right rate to stimulate the best evolution of the species. And it's all coming from somewhere higher than any of us as individuals can really work out.
Yeah.
The thing that I can have this conversation, I know all of these things. I can talk about them and say very impressive things like, wow, so wise. You catch me on an average day, God, I am whiny, negative, resentful, paranoid. I take things personally, left, right, and center.
Yes.
I need a personal assistant, not to take notes, just to slap me when I'm being a whiny little bitch. And we have to give ourselves the patience and the space to be both of these things as we grow.
Yes, that's very true. I mean, this is the totality of human experience. We have good days and we have bad days, good moments. In any given day, I'll be up and down and all around, flat line, and start day happy as fuck, and end it with the covers pulled over my head, shaking in the fetal position, going, fuck me, what happened? And then wake up and forget all about it. It's that the changeable nature of one moment to the next, to the next, to the next, and allowing that flow and keeping that center of our true divine selves, and that connection to source, God, goddess, all that is, whatever you want to call it. And just allowing that, being a part of that.
I mean, I had God, many years ago now. I spent 3 days alone at home, and things have been stressing me. That person, screw them. Just, I could feel, I could trace it back. I'd just been going on, and it was in the background. I wasn't engaging it, but it was there. And I went to do my groceries. I'm going around the store, bloody ingredients. I get to the checkout, and the young lady says, "How are you today, sir?" I thought about it. I'm actually pretty good. Yeah, thanks. 3 days of thinking the world was coming to an end. And when a human being said, "How are you?" Like, I'm actually pretty good. And all of that bullshit, yeah, none of that was real.
Yeah.
But it took another human being just to contact me to remind me of that.
That's so
And as
cool.
difficult it is to be amongst people these days, we are social beings. We need social interaction for a healthy development and a healthily maintained central nervous system.
Yeah.
We have mirror neurons, which is their entire purpose is so that we microscopically mirror the body language and the behaviors of other people. If we really tune into this, this is how we can hijack empathy, because we start behaving like they're behaving and we feel what they're feeling in a tiny way. We have brain cells designed for just that. We are meant to be social beings. So even if you hate people and find it hard, get out now and again. Just get a smile.
I'm a touchy-feely kind of girl. So the whole thing with, disillusioned has been very difficult. And then I was living in Europe, and the Europeans are much more tactile, much more huggy, kissy. And I love that.
Not in England, they're not.
not in the London. That's very true. Maybe a slap here and there.
I mean, I've been here 14 years. I'm still getting used to, the American openness and friendliness.
Yeah. And in Italy, it was just, I relished it.
Well, with us being that good, who wouldn't be happy all the time?
Oh my gosh. So how are you doing energy-wise?
Right now, had a long day of clients, haven't had breakfast yet. So that's my thing. I eat at the end of the day generally.
Okay.
But I'm doing okay. I can keep going for a bit.
Okay. So let's go for another 10, 15 minutes. Okay. So one of the things that I found really just superb in going through your website, and we will have Simon's website in the show notes below, was the post that you did about Roy E. Davis. And we discussed it because Roy E. Davis has been my only guru type my entire life. I don't like gurus. I'm allergic to them generally. And when I met this man, and when I met this man, I was just, it's like I felt like I came home, if that makes sense. I never feel like that. I felt very at home with him. And one of the things that I appreciated about him is that, the real deal, and having read Autobiography of a Yogi and just the whole controversy around his initiation and his ordination, where Paramahansa Yogananda said, leave my boy alone. I know what I'm doing. Because Roy was literally the youngest that he had ordained in his lineage. And so, that always stuck to me over the years. And so when I met Roy, I thought to myself, and it was during a period in my life where I was on the heels of 2 years of this sort of mystery and consternation around my Kundalini awakening, which was very disturbing because I didn't have a context about it. I didn't know what it was. I thought, oh, am I an alien? Like, what's going on here? And then, of course, ask and it is given. And I connected the dots with this and that, and schooled myself in what I could find and what I could read, and met up with people who had similar experiences or experiences with their Kundalini awakening that were markedly different from mine. But he provided this with the Kriya Yoga, a solid anchoring foundation where I didn't feel frayed. I didn't feel like I had exploded in all directions in a 360 and was trying to bring myself back to to cohesion, to just be there. And I just remember, though, when I met him and I was in his presence, there was this, and it was so profound, I couldn't ignore it. And I later found out that he had the ministry where he was meeting was not that far away from me in the San Francisco Bay Area. And it was lovely. He's a lovely man.
Are you in
And
the Bay Area?
I was in the Bay Area, yes.
Are you there now?
No, no, I am in New Mexico.
Okay. He's actually got one of his greatest disciples, Ellen Grace O'Brien, has his Center for Spiritual Enlightenment in San Jose.
Okay, yeah,
Very different style,
okay.
very different style, but she serves San Jose and Silicon Valley.
Beautiful.
Out
And
of
that's
all
where
of
I was
his,
going. That's where I was going.
okay, yeah, she carries Roy's spirit pretty strongly at her core.
Beautiful.
I feel him when she's teaching.
Beautiful. So amazing. So, I saw that and I went, yeah. I know you why you and I connected, because it's Roy.
I mean, I read Autobiography of a Yogi and I knew my search was over, that I had been a Kriya Yogi and I was still a Kriya Yogi and I needed to get back to being it. I tried SRF in England and found it very pseudo-spiritual, kind of Christian, churchy, just it was so structured and it didn't feel like yoga to me. I tried, yeah, you know the story. Someone said, Roy's giving initiation in London. And I was looking to become a monastic at the time. So I wasn't really that interested, but I thought, well, I'll take initiation, but I want to be a real monk because I knew everything and I had finished with society. I was better than the world and I wanted to dedicate my life to true spirituality. So I went to meet this guy to get initiation. And well, if he doesn't take monastics, is he really a yogi? Surely the monastic tradition should be upheld, because I knew everything when I was that young, you see. And I went to meet him, and just a guy in a shirt and a tie and a suit with the original English name.
Yes.
Nothing fake Indian or Hindu about him.
Nope.
No pretense. Nope. The first lesson he gave me was after the morning lecture. Everyone went to lunch. Those who want initiation come back. After initiation, he says, okay, so here's the guidebook. And those that didn't buy the guidebook before, we give away the free books at the end of the session. It's if you've got friends that can use them, take as many as you can give, hand them out, disseminate them. No one charged a penny. There was a pot up the back for anonymous donations. And the anonymous donations had funded him flying around the world, teaching, printing books, handing them out, and running a retreat center for 50 years at that point.
Yeah.
Just living out of the grace of God. So he said, well, if you didn't get a book earlier on, I'll walk around handing them out. And Raise your hand and let me know. I was so painfully shy back then. This will probably tune into something. The only confident speeches I had were when I was drunk, high, or having emotional outbursts. So I can probably forgive every criticism I made of the supposed woke blue-haired liberals that are, because I was that too and I was young. Anyway, he came to me and I held my hand up. He totally ignored me, walked over the other side of the room and started handing books out on that side of the room. And I had to say, "Excuse me, Mr. Davis," loudly. And I tried, excuse me, excuse. It took me about 5 minutes to get the balls up to actually go and say, "Sorry, can I have a book, please? You forgot me." And that was his first lesson. He was like, "You want one of these? Grow some balls, come get it." Then at the end, I had some speech prepared to show him how much I understood the depth of his teaching. And I said my prepared speech in hurried, nervous, anxious little other thing. And instead of saying, "Oh, thank you, bless you," he looked at me from his great height and went, "Okay." And I didn't know what to do, so I ran away. And he refused to entertain any of my insecurities, my bullshit, any of it. He was just, "This is me.
Yeah.
Come meet me."
Very
And
cut
over
and
the
dry.
years, the more I approached him as a friend, the more we hung out, we chatted. The more I approached him as a disciple, the more there was a distance, a coldness.
Yes, he's very much like that. He
I won't
wants
say
a real
coldness.
interaction.
He was never cold. He would he'd make you work for it. He would and you know why he doesn't take monastics? Because it's easy to be enlightened in the monastery. Keep you calm when you're haggling down the marketplace.
Yeah.
And he is like, "Nope, you want to be a yogi? You're a yogi inside. The world doesn't matter. You deal with whatever the world is, deal with it.
Yeah.
Be a yogi inside.
Yeah.
Be a yogi wherever you go. Be a
Yeah.
strong yogi."
Yeah.
And the first time we ever spoke, I was talking about trying to bring in more people. And he was like, "No, we want people that are strong." And he made this fist, the fingers came and he went, "Strong." And I have never seen such strength. That fist could have gone through a brick wall. And that's what he wants, strong yogis. That's what he was after. He did the quantity work, but he focused a lot more on the quality work, taking those that were ready a lot further and
Yeah.
letting them teach the quality work,
Yeah.
quantity work. It's, yeah, my brain's beginning to get a bit,
All right, my love. Well, I thank you so much for your
Thank
time,
you.
your
It's been
consideration.
fun.
It's been a delightful conversation. I love everything that you've shared. Thank you so much for sharing yourself, sharing your time and your energy with me and our viewers. And I just love how you just tell it like it is. And you
This is
tell it
me
like
being,
it is from a very it's not just truthful and humble, but it's real.
thank
It's
you.
real.
It's real for me with what I know at this time.
Yeah.
And it might be completely different tomorrow. I'm always willing to update. Wow.
Well, I
Always willing.
appreciate your
He said, "I'm
momentary
always willing."
authenticity.
Classic liar's body. I'm always willing to update. All right. I'm willing to try and update. Let's put it that way.
Oh my God, that's so funny. So, where can people find you? Your website?
Artofundoing.com.
Okay. And you're on the Facebook?
Facebook is also the Art of Undoing, but to be honest, I keep Facebook private so I can be myself.
Awesome.
Yeah, what comes off Facebook generally isn't. I heard of 2 people in 8 years through Facebook that were the right fit for me. Most of the people that come through Facebook aren't. So I leave it to grace, whatever you call it, the grace of God, the synchrony of the universe, similarity of frequency magnetically drawing us together, those that need my work find me when they go online and they search for what they want.
Awesome.
I'm happy like that because I only get clients prepared to do the work who can really receive.
Yeah.
It's
Beautiful.
frustrating to have someone come and they just can't receive the work. They wonder what the hell it is I'm trying to do. I feel frustrated, even though I shouldn't be attached to the results of my actions. Yeah, we still are.
Yeah.
But yeah, artofundoing.com.
Beautiful.
Got a few interesting technologies. The purr machine, using my big cat, Willie, wherever he is, his purr recorded the full
Beautiful
vocal
cats.
range.
Beautiful kitty cats.
Let me get
They're
one of them.
big. Let's
Let me
see
get
them.
Willie. He's the star of my show.
Come on, darling.
Hey, Wilbur. So anyway, subsonic frequencies have been utilized by modern medicine for a long, long time. He's a long boy.
Wow. What a pretty baby. Oh, look at you.
Hey, Woo-woo. Say hello.
Hi, beauty.
Hey, Woo-woo.
Ah,
He's a gentle giant, this one.
that is a gentle.
So yeah, subsonic frequencies are medically proven to help in many things. You got 25, 50, 100, 125, 150, 200 hertz. Each one individually does something very good. 25 and 50 is very good at broken bones and healing skin. I believe 40 hertz is good with fibromyalgia, Parkinson's disease, and one other. That's a possessive name disorder, I forget. But most or all of these are contained within a cat's purr. So by delivering it through a 1,000-watt subwoofer, the whole room gently rumbles with this resonant, rich purr. But it's gentle. It's a background. I don't want it to be invasive and take away from the work. It supports the work I do. But I've had canine and feline clients that are calmed down and soothed by this great big cat purr machine. It's recreating being a kitten in the belly of the mother cat when it's purring.
Aww.
Because they're bass frequencies, they travel through everything, they penetrate. So we don't need the table to be shaking. So that's why, that's the background. We've got the pulsed EMF machine with the plasma tubes that I'm testing out at the moment. A few other things going on. The polarity pillows by Ethel Starbard is a technology that someone recently gave to me, and I'm looking to recreate that in the copper pipes of a pyramid. I've had a phenomenal amount of work with pyramids and healing. 2002, I had my right foot completely crushed between a car and a motorcycle engine. It was a pancake. It took 10 surgeries to rebuild it. They thought I was going to lose the foot. I've never channeled anything. I'm not clairaudient, sentient, voyant. I have the most mundane spiritual path ever. I'm given zero support, help, tools. It's all work it out for yourself. I don't know. I must have programmed the hardest path possible when I came down or whatever. So
that's confirmation.
Sidetracked again. Where was I going?
You were going on about the various
Pyramids,
frequencies
yes,
that you work with.
I was in hospital on a lot of painkillers, and I channeled the perfect design for this pyramid. It had to be the Giza pyramid. Each of the 4 base corners was a pyramid in its own right, and the top had to house a quartz crystal pyramid that slotted in. The lengths that connect the top and the 4 bases can be changed to different sizes, so you can make it a big pyramid or a small pyramid based on the bits you put into it. I had a skin graft on my foot that was drying up, shrinking, coming away from the edges, not healing. I'll show you if you can see this.
Wow.
Visual aid.
Okay.
That's like the full range of motion. It's a flipper, basically. That big scar there, that's all skin graft off my thigh.
Wow.
So this design came, I got straight out of hospital. I spent a week sat on the cold concrete floor of my dad's garage with snips, solder, a blowtorch, and a hammer. And I built this pyramid. It worked perfectly. Within 2 days of sleeping with my foot inside this pyramid, the skin graft hydrated, went soft and pink, it fluffed up, it grew, it filled out the edges.
Wow.
And literally within 2 days of sleeping with my foot in a pyramid built from plumber's piping that I bought from B&Q, Home Depot, call it here. I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
I really couldn't believe it.
And this was a download that you received.
It was a download. And I still now, when I get a visual download, it's spot on. It's very accurate. There's no deviation allowed.
That's been my experience as well.
But I get so few that I know my imagination, I don't trust it. And if I got visual guides every day, I'd either start assuming they were signs when they weren't, or I wouldn't trust it. And I'd spend all day looking for ways to prove it was really inspiration and not my, so I don't do that. But it forces me. Anyway, long story short, down the line, I've had a lot of miraculous experiences with this particular pyramid.
Wow.
Pyramids themselves are now calling me. They want to come back. They want to come back on force. And this one particular design is a variation of that one, but it wants to have the technology for the polarity pillows inside the pipes of the pyramid.
Ooh.
And it's not just going to be some small device that you put or you hold and it imparts its energy to you. It's going to be like sitting inside of one of these things. Plus, it's the energy of what the pyramid does as well. So we're kind of layering these strange earth-based subtle technologies, but having seen and had such dramatic experiences of my own, I can't wait to see what happens. These ideas, they came to me and told me they wanted to come together. So I know it's going to be good. I've got far too much other stuff to do to stick another project on my list. I sure as hell don't want another thing to do. I'm gonna have to knock other things I really want to do off to get this done. So this is kind of a job. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But that's going to be over the table when it's done. Eventually, I want to get such a healing environment that me turning up as a Cranio-Sacral therapist is an option. I want to try and create a space that does so much of the healing with so many different levels that we can just have rooms where people lay in and get the work done, and then you have a Cranio-Sacral therapist or whichever therapist you want, they can come in later. Again, the idea for the center, all of this, it's all there.
Wow.
Right now,
that is
round up.
Awesome. That just sounds so magical, cosmic.
The best thing of all, one of my cats will sit on you in session.
Yay! Isn't that just fabulous?
I sometimes get the feeling that Willie is the real healer and I'm just an excuse for people to spend time with him. Because some people buy him gifts. I had one woman come, she said, "Oh, I can't deal with cats, I'm allergic." I was like, "Well, these are hypoallergenic, but we'll put the cats outside for the session." So halfway through the session, Willie comes along. Let me in.
Man.
I waited for him to go away. He didn't. And it's a loud. If people don't know Willie, they hear him upstairs. They always do the same thing. "Have you got a child? I didn't know you had a kid." So he kept screaming outside the door, and I was like, "Do you mind if I let my assistant in?" So if he really wants to, he can. So he came in, jumped up between the knees. The end of the session, I went out. "So you take your time, meet you outside when you're ready." And after about 5 minutes, I snuck a look in the door. She was on her knees, burying her face in Willie's belly, thanking him for such a beautiful session. This is the one that didn't want him in there.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Amazing. Love it.
I can't call it work. I hang out with these beautiful guardian, sentient feline beings, and people come and we just get soft and calm and calmer and calmer. And by the time we end, everybody's just... we let the words come back on their own.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. And on that note, we will
Thank you.
we will close. Thank you so much, Simon. Just
It's been fun.
it's been wonderful. Really appreciate your time and your consideration, and the kitty cats, the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful feline, feline,
More
like,
pictures on the website, but
yes,
yeah.
yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, my
Okay.
darlings, my waking gods and goddesses, that's it for now. And until next time, here is to love, truth, and beauty. Mwah!